Show, Bob Theriot, and I'm so excited that you're here with me tonight. I've been trying to get really good guests on the show, and to be honest with you, I have so many requests, but I'm kind of picky of who I bring on because I want to make sure that they deliver value to you. I want to make sure that your time is well spent watching the show. I know you have a lot of choices out there. So again, my name is Bob Theriot and welcome to the Q&A show. Before we get started, if you guys could do me a favor, if you're watching live, hashtag live down below in comments. This helps the Facebook algorithm tell people that we're on. It helps us reach more people. And you know me, I'm all about trying to help as many people as I can. So hashtag live. If you happen to catch this show and replay somewhere on down the road, hashtag replay. That also helps us out. And we also reach more people that way. And don't be afraid to hit that heart button. Don't be afraid to smash that like button and share us out. The more you share us out, the more people you can reach. I promise you, you will not get electrocuted if you share that button. It's just going to do everybody good. So before I get started, I just want to remind you guys, tonight's show is brought to you by Success Rocket Marketing. So if you own a local business and you're trying to reach more people, trying to increase sales, revenues, give Success Rocket a call. You can reach them at 915-314-5300. And you can always go to their website at successrocketmarketing.com. So let me tell you a little about my guest before I bring him on. Joe Rodriguez was born and raised in New York City during the 1980s, during the heroin crisis and crack cocaine epidemic. And by age 16, he was a high school dropout and labeled an underprivileged, troubled, at-risk youth. Defying the odds, he rose out of poverty, became a U.S. Marine, established a successful federal career in law enforcement. He is now a highly trained special agent with the Department of Homeland Security. He is now a life coach, author, and speaker. And that's why I brought him on to you here, guys. So please help me welcome Mr. Joel Rodriguez to the program. And he'll be coming up here. Hey, Joel, what's up, bud?
Hey, what's going on, Bob? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And I first want to say thank you very much for reaching out and having me on your show. I feel very honored. Thank you so much.
No problem. So before we get into all the nuts and bolts of what it is you're doing, because I know you're known as the optimistic seeker, correct?
That is right. Joel Rodriguez, the optimistic seeker.
So before we get into all that, if you can do me a favor and give my audience a little bit of context about you. I kind of said a little bit there, but I know you can go a little bit deeper on that. That would help us out.
Absolutely. Both of my parents are from the Dominican Republic. In 1968, my parents migrated from the Dominican Republic to New York City. I was born in the summer of 1973. And I am one of 6 children. I have 4 brothers and a sister. I'm the 4th child. And in 1980, my parents separated. You know, this left my mother alone to raise 6 children on her own while on public assistance. And I remember when I was 8 years old, in 1981, I was one of 8 people living in a small 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. And, you know, this was in 1981. And at that time, heroin was heavy in New York City, especially in the Bronx. And one of the most violent areas was called Watson Avenue. So about a year or so later, we actually moved on the corner of Watson and Boynton. So we were kind of in the epicenter, in the center of the dragon. And, you know, by the age, you know, my mother did the very best she could. But the fact of the matter is that the streets of New York raised me. And in 1986, 1987, when crack cocaine hit New York City, it devastated the Bronx. And to make things worse, the building across the street was abandoned. And drug dealers will use that building to sell drugs, and many drug addicts will actually get high just right across the street. So this became one of the major crack cocaine distribution hubs. And unfortunately, by the age of 15, I had become a product of that environment. And like you mentioned in your intro, by the age of 16, I was labeled an underprivileged, troubled, and at-risk youth. By the age of 17, I began to notice that many of my friends, many of the kids that I grew up with, were dying, getting arrested, going to jail, and no one was going nowhere in life. And that's when I knew that, this thug life was not for me. It had nothing to offer. I knew that I wanted more in life, but I didn't know exactly what that meant because I didn't have any positive role models around me. And I think what you're doing here is so important because, you give the opportunity for people to listen to stories, and it might inspire and help others, especially today's youth. So right about that time when I was kind of trying to figure life out, I was inspired by crazy war movies like Full Metal Jacket and Platoon.
Right.
Ironically enough, because of those war movies, I wanted to join the military. I always had a sense like if I wanted to serve and help others. So in 1990, I completed my GED. And with GED in hand, I walked into a Marine recruiting station on Fordham Road in the Bronx. And you know what, Bob? I was denied. A GED in of itself was not enough to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. And I can remember when I was denied, I walked out of that Marine recruiting station devastated because that was my way out. That was my escape. And when they told me no, I was like, man, what do I do now? But I remember coming on to Fordham Road, and it was a busy day, lots of traffic, a lot of vehicles and pedestrian traffic. And I just refused to take no for an answer. So I think that was my first life lesson. Even when they tell you no, there's always a way. You cannot stop when people tell you no. You have to keep going. So
looking back, Joel, what made you that way? Was it innate? Was it something in you, or was it just you needed to make that change?
You know what? I think poverty is a huge motivator.
Mm-hmm.
When you're down and out, you can do one or two things. You can accept and be defeated, or you can get up back on your feet, raise to the challenge and look for a way. I think the human mind is amazing. If you put it to work, you'll find a way.
Right.
You'll find a way. And on the flip side, if you feel defeated, you're going to be defeated. Right. So I think it was just poverty. I just think I saw how we grew up. I saw my mother struggling, growing up in the projects, Millbrook projects in the South Bronx. I just didn't want that for my life. I wanted more. Did that answer your question, Bob?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it did. Yeah. So I kind of interrupted you there on the story. So take us forward. So how did you get in? So you were denied. What happened then?
So I was denied, and I walked up the street and I enrolled myself in the James Monroe Community College, which was also on Fordham Road. And about 3 months later, I completed about 12 college credits, and I walked back into that same Marine recruiter, Sergeant Gonzalez, and I told him, hey, man, I'm ready to enlist. And I demanded to get into the infantry. For some reason, I wanted to be an infantry Marine. Mm-hmm. And 3 months later, December 10th, 1991, I shipped out to Parris Island, South Carolina for Marine Corps boot camp. I graduated boot camp with honors.
How old were you at this time?
I was 18 years old. 18. I was 18 years old. Yes, sir. And I graduated as platoon guide. At that time, I was dating a young lady. Her name was Dawn. At Marine Corps boot camp, I bought an engagement ring or a wedding ring, went home, proposed, got married, and came back from my training. I was then stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I had the privilege to serve as an infantry Marine. In 1992, 1993, went off to the Middle East, did a deployment in Somalia, Africa, mm-hmm. and several parts of the Middle East. When I came back from that deployment, I took the indoctrination to become a Marine Scout sniper. I passed the indoctrination, and I had the privilege to serve with 1st Battalion, 2nd Marine Division State Platoon, which is a surveillance and target acquisition platoon. Today, they call it Scout Sniper Platoon. Okay. So I became a Scout sniper, and my last year of active duty service in 1994, had the privilege to become an instructor at the 2nd Marine Corps Division Scout Sniper School. And in the summer of 1994, we provided training to federal law enforcement officers. Now, keep in mind, Bob, coming from the South Bronx, I did not like cops. Usually
Right.
when we saw cops, we ran. I didn't like cops. I didn't trust cops. But as I trained with these officers, and these were different officers from federal, state, local departments and agencies, I realized that, hey, man, these are human beings. So that their job did not dictate the type of person they were. Their jobs did not identify their whole person, So that was my second life lesson, that somebody's profession, somebody's job does not have to define the whole person. So as I trained with these officers, they encouraged me to seek out a career in federal law enforcement, and I did just that. In 1996, I left the Marine Corps in 1995, and in 1996, I started my federal law enforcement career as a correction officer at the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York City, MCC, New York. That's the same federal prison that El Chapo went to when he got arrested.
Okay.
Sammy the Bull, John Gotti, a lot of infamous federal inmates went through MCC, New York.
So it's a tough prison, to say the least.
It's called an administrative prison, which means that we held all types of inmates, from low to supermax security. The first World Trade bombers were there. A lot of very interesting individuals went through that prison. When I attended the academy for the Bureau of Prisons, I attended that academy at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Brunswick, Georgia. When I attended that academy, at that time, there were about 90 different federal agencies training there. I was like, wow, I didn't even know there's so many federal agencies even existed.
Right.
As a young kid, you heard about the FBI, you heard about DEA, U.S. Marshals, I heard about NYPD. I mean, in New York, I didn't even know what Border Patrol was. We just didn't, you don't see that, up north and in some of those states. So I was shocked. So I was like a kid in a candy store. I was asking every federal agency, who are you guys? What do you guys do? What's your pay? What's your benefit? What are the requirements? And I can remember, Bob, that in 1996, I set a personal goal to become a special agent with U.S. Customs. Now, granted, at that time, I did not have a college degree. I had no law enforcement experience, but I set that goal. I served in the Bureau of Prisons for 2 years. In 1998, I transferred to the U.S. Border Patrol. I was stationed in Southeast Texas in Harlingen area, Port Isabel Border Patrol Station. Seeking further upward mobility in 2001, I transferred to the Department of Energy with the National Nuclear Security Administration. I served several years with them. In that capacity, I transported nuclear weapons and other sensitive materials throughout the United States. While I was with the Department of Energy, I began to take college classes on a part-time basis. So in 2007, I completed my degree and I applied for my dream job. And after 12 long years, I finally achieved my ultimate goal and became a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security.
Wow.
So that's kind of the first chapter of my life, chapters 1 and 2. So by 2010, I had quote unquote arrived. I arrived at my 12 years goal.
You had achieved all the goals that you had set out.
I had, from a professional perspective, I achieved the very top goal that I set for myself. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I became a special agent. So I was very excited. I was happy. Life was good. But I noticed that excitement with time began to die down. It began to wear off. And I began to ask myself, okay, like, what now? You know, I always read self-help books and I always applied self-help techniques in my life, but it was always to achieve that next level in my career.
Right.
I was always looking for that next promotion, always looking for that next level in my federal law enforcement career. And then once I arrived, I was like, okay, what now? And what I didn't know, which I learned later on, whatever stops to move in life begins to die.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what happened with me. And it's not necessarily that you always have to move up, because we look at life as a linear object, but in reality, life is more like a ball. And that ball has to move, has to adjust, it grows, it changes colors, it bounces. And what I did, I looked at life as a linear thing.
A ladder you were climbing.
A ladder that I was climbing.
Right.
And then once I had no more ring or ladder, once the ladder ended, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I sacrificed so much for.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was still, my life began to lose its luster. I began, life didn't have that meaning, that purpose no more.
So you were going to work and you were getting bored with it? Did it seem redundant? You were doing the same thing over and over again? Is that what it was?
Listen, Bob, you hit it right. You hit it right on. And I think that is a problem that happens with so many of us.
Every profession, I think.
Every profession. And it doesn't matter what that definition of success is. Mm-hmm. If you set a definition of success, even if it's to gain $5,000, $50,000, $1 million, $10 million, it doesn't matter what it is. Once you achieve that, if you stop, you will begin to die. And I learned the hard way that a position, success, money, house, car, none of those things will fulfill you totally. Not understanding that, not knowing that, my life began to slip. So to make a long story short, by 2012, I hit rock bottom. I had a major hormone.
I'm sorry. What's rock bottom for you? Like, I know you were getting ready to get into it, but what happened?
So the main thing, mentally, I was out of it.
Okay.
And then I kind of let myself go. And because of that, I slipped into depression and to a dark, negative place.
Did you know you were depressed, or were you one of those people that suppressed it and just kept going on with their life and working?
Both.
Okay.
Exactly. So I knew I was depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I even did research. I would go on the internet, and you know how they'll have those questionnaires. Do you have 10 of these? Do you have 5 or 7 of these symptoms? And I will mark them off.
Right.
I knew that I was depressed, but as a Latino man, and as a Marine, as a tough guy, quote unquote, we just don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about it. We hide it. We fake the funk, right? We put on a fake smile and just walk through life like if nothing is going on. But unfortunately, that takes its toll.
So let me ask you, let me interrupt you. Hold your thought, because I want to ask you something, because
yes, sir.
I'm in the process right now of coming up with something that I'm doing a little bit of research on as far as anxiety, because I know that, Americans, everybody suffers with some type of anxiety. Okay.
That is correct.
So for you as a professional, did you start experiencing, I know you were a little bit depressed, but usually anxiety, it goes in tandem with depression. So were you experiencing anxiety? Were you having claustrophobia, can't sleep, heart palpitations? I don't know what that is, but was that happening to you?
Yes, let me absolutely, and I'm going to
Okay.
answer your question right now.
Okay.
So eventually, I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression,
Okay.
anxiety, hormone imbalance. I was pre-diabetic. I had sleep apnea, high blood pressure. So when when we are depressed, when we are depressed, we think about the past and we feel regret.
Mm-hmm.
When we are depressed, we think about the future and we get anxiety.
Mm-hmm. The
So these
unknown,
are
the fear of the unknown.
that is exactly right. Either
Right.
the fear of the unknown or we hype ourselves up in a negative way, and it's fear. We
Mm-hmm.
begin to fear,
Right.
man, failure, the unknown. We're going to be judged. We're going to be laughed at.
Right.
I'm not going to make it. I'm not good enough. And we keep telling ourselves this, and exactly. And another thing that I learned is that depression, anxiety, one way or another, impacts of every person. It impacts 4 to 6 people, which means that out of every 4 or 6 people that you know, they've been depressed, will be depressed, or they're currently living with somebody who is depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something that touches a lot of lives in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom, and for a long time I didn't see any medical professionals, and I was forced to.
So let me ask you another question. Did you self-medicate?
Um, I hit it. I would say, I guess, yes, to a certain degree. You
Okay.
know, thank God, I didn't become an alcoholic or start abusing drugs or anything like that. But what I did was I hit it. I would spend an entire weekend in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I get off of work. I would go straight to sleep. Spend
Overeat,
that. I'm sorry.
overeat,
Yep.
overeating.
Overeat.
That's
Overeat.
self-medicating.
Not only that, my body would crave carbs and sweets, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand it. But I'll explain some of these issues here later. So yeah, I would overeat, get off of work, go straight to bed, spend Saturday in bed, spend Sunday in bed, struggle to get up. Sometimes I would have a decent Monday, a decent Tuesday, but by Wednesday I was done.
Right.
And even on good days, I would get up on Monday and work out. Tuesday, I'll have a decent workout. I remember on many occasions, Wednesday morning, there was at least 2 times that I would walk into the gym, Bob,
Mm-hmm.
and walk right out and go home. Cause I just couldn't do it as motivated that I wanted to be, and as I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And depression is one of those things that if you haven't experienced it, it is difficult to convey to others. But it is a real thing. And I think too many people are suffering in silence. So once I knew what I had, Bob, I remember that on the week of my 41st birthday, I decided that I was going to change my life.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember
So
what that was? What was that thing that finally? Because I know you hit rock bottom, but you still lived with it for a while. So what was the thing that pushed you over the edge? What
you know
made
what?
it happen?
I, I really don't know exactly what it was. I do remember thinking, man, I just turned 41. I still consider myself a young man.
Mm-hmm.
I've accomplished so much. I've sacrificed so much. I remember thinking, is this how life is going to be for the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
I just had enough. I just had enough. And I can remember turning 41, and I told myself, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. For a long time, I did not know what was wrong with me, or I refused to know. I didn't want to know. But once I knew, then at least now I knew what the problem was.
Right.
And a lot of times we have to understand the problem before we can attack it, before we can overcome it.
Right.
So in the week of my 41st birthday, I made that decision. And Bob, I spent a little over 3 years on a daily basis. Well, let me take a step back. First, when I decided to heal myself, first I took an inventory of my life. And I noticed that at home, I would watch the news all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
My TV was either on CNN or Fox or some other news channel every day.
This is how you spent your off time on your weekends and at night.
This is all I did. That's all I did is watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch some TV shows, some YouTube channels, but the majority of the time was looking at the news. And the majority of the time at work, I was usually involved in whining, complaining, gossiping, not knowing what I was doing is I was feeding myself all that negativity. If you look at the news, unfortunately, for the most part, it's not the news, it's bad news. They're usually reporting just all the bad stuff that happens in the world. And especially now with this poisonous political environment, I mean, it's just bad and negativity. So what I did is I stopped watching news. In fact, I cut my cable. I stopped watching TV. And I made, okay, are we good? Okay. And I began to make an honest effort that at work, I stopped being negative. I stopped whining. I stopped complaining. I made an effort to stop gossiping. And pretty much I try to stop all negative stuff in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I became aware, and anytime any negativity came in, I was like, hold on, I don't want to get involved with that. And then I got on YouTube and I just started looking up motivation, inspiration. And every day I would spend at least an hour listening to motivational, inspirational material and content.
Right.
And the more I started researching, so initially I want to beat depression. But then I realized that depression, like you said, is linked to anxiety, which is linked to sleep apnea or some type of sleep disorder, which is linked to hypertension, which is linked to diabetes, so everything is, all this negativity is linked to one another. So if you have one negative issue going on with your mind and your body, it's very likely to produce another and another and another and another. And before you know it, you're in a downward facing domino effect. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to reverse that wheel. The wheel was going this way in a negative way. I wanted to stop it and reverse it going the other way.
So let me ask you a question. Did you ever consider, or did you consider getting professional help?
Yes, and I did. So for over a year, I saw Dr. Raul Jimenez here on the West Side, and for over a year I was on medication. I was on depression medication. And the crazy thing about depression medication is that there is no one pill that works for everybody. Mm-hmm. So for anybody who has not been on depression medication, they'll start you off with a pill, a low dosage, and then they'll increase. Then usually it doesn't do anything. Then they'll increase the dosage to make sure you don't have no adverse effect. And then they'll bring you to the max. And then if that medication doesn't work, they'll start you with another medication. Same thing, low dosage, they'll increase the dosage. So that cycle repeated with me about 3 or 4 times. And eventually I kind of labeled out. I was still struggling but I was heavily dependent on depression medication. And I remember, keep in mind, I'm still a law enforcement officer. And I remember going to my supervisor at the time, Andy Maldonado. What's up, Andy? And I remember going to Andy's office. I say, hey, man, hey, I got to talk to you. Can I close the door? And he says, yeah, go ahead. And I said, hey, dude, I'm going through some tough issues. I'm depressed. And, I just kind of wanted to let you know that I'm on medication. I thought he was going to tell me, well, you're going to have to surrender your gun and your badge. Mm-hmm. Ironically enough, I was blessed. And, he told me, you know what, man? I've dealt with depression as well. And I was shocked when he told me that. He was extremely supportive. Not only that, but he kind of gave me some advice, which I was like, wow. And that was my first, that was rare for me because as a macho man, as a tough guy, you don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. So I was very surprised, a good friend of mine, somebody that I looked up to, shared that with me. And I was like, wow. So like I was telling you, for over 3 years, I conducted research. I stopped all negativity, or I made an effort to stop all negativity. And I was constantly feeding myself with positivity. I was, either reading books, listening to audios, watching positive and inspirational stuff in YouTube. Mm-hmm. And it started with depression, but it led to one thing, to another, to another, to another. I interviewed doctors. I conducted experiments on myself. And I'm going to tell you what I learned at the end of these 3 years. Okay. You ready to hear it, Bob?
I'm ready.
I learned that the purpose and meaning of life is to have direction and balance. And I felt into this black hole because I no longer had direction and I never really had balance in my life. Mm-hmm. So my only direction was chase that career, chase that career, chase that career. And unfortunately, I had many failed relationships. I abused my mind. Mm-hmm. I abused my body. And by abusing, I'm talking about, I was always, specialized unit, special response team, SWAT. I was always go, go, go. It was all about the career. It was all about stress, adrenaline, but I never had a stress coping method. I didn't know how to relax. I didn't know about balance. Mm-hmm. It was always go, 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 go. Right. So I learned at the end of the 3 years, I learned that the true purpose and meaning of life is to find and establish direction and balance. Life is all about having direction and balance. If you don't have direction and balance, I don't care who you are, your life will eventually crumble. Or at best, you will live a mediocre, average life. And like you said, waking up, going to work, paying the bills, waiting until Friday, partying on Friday and Saturday, resting on Sunday, and repeating the thing next week. So you're not really living life to the fullest. You don't have a rich, fulfilled life. You're not walking around with that complete and fulfilled feeling, but rather you're just going through the motions. And that's what happened to me.
So how do people find direction and balance? How does that happen?
Outstanding question, Bob. So finding direction. So first, let me explain what direction and balance is. Direction is knowing who you are, mm-hmm. where you are in life, and where you're heading. That may sound elementary, but unfortunately, many of us don't really know who we are. Mm-hmm. Many of us identify ourselves by what we learned in our household, mm-hmm. in school, in church, in society, and social media. Many of us really don't know who we are, mm-hmm. because many of us, I may say, I think I know who I am, but if you But if you and I have an argument and you call me a name, I'm going to get upset.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a negative opinion about me, that's going to hurt my feelings. If people say something negative about, if they don't give me enough likes, I'm not going to feel like I'm the man.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Are those people holding the definition of who I am, or do I really know who I am? So number one, direction is knowing who you are, where you are in life, being honest with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
where you are in life, and more importantly, where you are heading.
Right.
So direction gives you a strong sense of self-identity and life purpose. And let me share something with you and with the audience. Your life purpose may be different. We are all different. As humans, we're alike, yet we're individuals. We're all different. Everybody has a life purpose. You have to find that life purpose, and you got to pursue that life purpose. And that life purpose is linked one way or another with servicing other people. Period.
So where does spirit so where does spirit, I can't say it. Where does God fit into all of this?
So,
Where,
so spirituality.
yes, yes.
So
Thank you for helping me with the new lips. I just got them today.
no problem, brother. So spirituality, it's a holistic approach, mind, body, spirit. So I am not a religious person. So I don't want to say anything. Not that I'm trying to be politically correct, but everybody believes in what they believe. And I'm not here to argue any religion. I'm not here to argue any religion. What I'm here to say is that the spirituality is a component of being a complete person.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, scientists and doctors are proving that there is something else. There is an additional element that we cannot fully understand and fully comprehend. We understand the mind, we understand the body, but we have to understand the spirit. So how does that go into play? That is for each and every one of us to find out. So for me, I believe in a higher power. I believe in being a good person. I believe in being good to yourself and being good to others. I believe in centering yourself. For me, and the top number one advice that I give when it comes to improving your spirituality is meditation. Mm-hmm. And most people tell me, Joe, I cannot meditate. And Bob, let me share something with you. The first time I tried to meditate, it was bananas. My mind, I couldn't sit still for 2 minutes.
Right.
But what meditation does, and you call it whatever you want to call it, prayer, affirmations, meditation, mm-hmm. but the purest form is meditation, where you try to calm your mind, think about nothing, concentrate in your breathing. Mm-hmm. Thinking about nothing is almost impossible because the mind will naturally gravitate towards a thought, mm-hmm. which is okay. Right. Once you are aware that your mind gravitates towards a thought, release that thought and bring your presence back to your breathing. Mm-hmm. That centers, that calms the mind. When you calm the mind, the human brain works at a lower frequency. In order for you to influence your mind has to be at a lower frequency. Mm-hmm. That's how you can influence and quote unquote reprogram the mind. So going back to my definition, the purpose and meaning of life is to find and to establish direction and balance. Direction is knowing who you are, where you are in life, and more importantly, where you are heading. Direction provides you a strong sense of self-identity and life purpose. And let's not forget that life purpose is linked with serving and helping others. I don't care how you do it, you must be able to serve and help others. Yeah. That is the thing that gives you the most satisfaction in life. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, balance is achieved by setting and working towards goals in the 7 life areas. There are 7 life areas. And my problem was that I only concentrated on 1, 2, maybe 3.
Right.
I neglected, unfortunately, my family. My marriage suffered. My relationship with my kids suffered. Relationship with friends and coworkers suffered. My stress, my peace of mind suffered. Everything, because I was just concentrating on climbing that ladder, climbing that ladder, climbing that ladder.
Mm-hmm.
But balance is achieved by working towards goals and addressing the 7 life areas, which are mind, body, spirit, leisure, relationships, profession, and finances, in that specific order. And check this out, Bob. If you start with yourself, if you improve, heal your mind, body, and spirit, that makes you a better person.
Mm-hmm.
If you improve your mind, body, and spirit, you can enjoy your leisure time. Way too many of us cannot enjoy our leisure time because we are too busy thinking about something else.
There's no peace
Like
there.
there is no peace of mind. We're either thinking about the past with regret, or we're thinking about tomorrow with anxiety. We're thinking about the job, the argument we had, the kids, the wife, the husband, the bills, this, that, and the other. And we are never living in the here and now. We have to learn to live in the here and now. One of the books that I've read within that 3-year journey was The Power of Now. Awesome book. It changed my life. And from there, I started reading other books and listening to other stuff. So my philosophy, what I'm sharing with you, is through a combination of life experiences, books I've read, research I conducted, and experiments I conducted on myself. So this is not just something that I read in a book. This is stuff that I've tried, that I've done. And, you know, we just got a message from Edwin Torres. Joel, do you finally find? Yes. Can I answer that question, Bob? Yes. So I finally figured things out, man. So, you know, I think we all have gifts, Bob. Mm-hmm. And one of my gifts is that I can see a complicated thing and I can simplify it to the lowest common denominators. Okay. So when I was reading and conducting research and interviewing doctors and trying to figure things out, I noticed common patterns. And I started concentrating on those common patterns. And everything pointed me towards a holistic approach.
So it's not with all this philosophy and all this knowledge that you gained, were you able to finally get off of the chemicals and the medication?
Yes. Okay. I finally, thank you to Dr. Raul Jimenez, awesome doctor here on the West Side. Finally, I was able to wean myself off of medication. Mm-hmm. During that process, I empowered my mind. I empowered my body and my spirit. And let me give you an example of how I did that. And to answer the question,
Edwin's question. Edwin Salas.
Yes, to answer your question, Edwin. Yes, utilizing my philosophy or utilizing the crazy things that I tried and created, I finally was able to reach peace of mind, become happy, fulfilled, and satisfied.
You got another question here from Aaron. Where did you find your best research for meditation?
So I took a course on transcendental meditation. I just like anything else, you know, the internet is a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. So I started on the internet. I started asking questions. That I noticed there were different forms of meditation, and I kept seeing this thing, which was backed up by medical and scientific evidence about transcendental meditation. And then years ago, I was doing a training in Georgia, not too far from Jacksonville, Florida, and I found a husband and wife couple who taught a class in transcendental meditation. So that is where I found the best source of meditation. And I am telling you right now, and I know it's difficult, and I tell everybody this, if you want to start to become more self-aware and quiet that mind and find that peace that we all have within us, you must meditate. You must meditate.
Mhm. So
So
would that be like one of the first things you tell people, Joel? Because when you're in the midst of chaos in your life,
yep,
you feel everything's falling apart and things aren't
yep,
going your way. I
yep,
mean, that's not the first thing people think of, right? They think of
correct,
hand me a beer, get me a drink, you
correct.
know, get me a
Which
big
is
pizza, let me just sit here, right?
correct. Which
That's
is
what that's
nothing correct. Which is nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But notice, Bob, that's at the end of the struggle. That's at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So I'm exhausted, and I'm like, man, give me a beer, Bob. I'm done. But check this out, Bob. Let me ask you first. Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Most successful companies, most successful organizations, they have a mission plan, correct?
Exactly.
They have core values. They
Mhm.
have a purpose statement. They
Mhm.
have a philosophy. And
Mhm.
all those things direct the workforce. It creates
Right.
a team, and the philosophy, the mission statement, the core values, it directs their success. That way, everybody is on the same shit of music.
Right.
So that philosophy makes the company successful. Everybody's on the same shit of music.
Mhm.
If companies and organizations can do that, why can't we as individuals do that for ourselves?
Mhm.
And
You have
that is
your own mission
exactly
statement, right? Your own philosophy, your own mission statement.
and that is exactly where I started. I first started with a self-identity framework where I asked myself, who am I? What do I believe in? What
Mhm.
do I what do I need in life? What do I want in life? How can I serve others? What do I need to do? So I started with those questions. Once I answered those questions for myself, then I said, okay, what's my life philosophy? I came up with a life philosophy. Then I said, okay, what are my core values? I came up with a personal set of core values. Then I asked myself, okay, what is my life mission? What is my purpose statement? I came up with a purpose statement. I then
Mhm.
asked myself, I also came up with a gratitude statement. What are the things that I'm grateful for? What
Mhm.
has God, what has the universe, what has life given me that I can be grateful for? So I came up with this blueprint. I recreated myself on paper. And then that blueprint became my daily affirmations.
Mhm.
So every morning I would wake up early. Once I did my bed, I did my coffee, I would walk into my closet, I would breathe, close my eyes, and I would meditate for 15 minutes. After I meditated, then I will state my life's philosophy: accept, forgive, let go, and surrender. Be honest. Establish direction and maintain balance. Love everyone and everything. Do not judge, gossip, get angry, or frustrated, but rather be good, be kind, and be happy. Speak
Mhm.
less, listen more, and love deeply. Above all else, be great. That became my personal life philosophy. And then I would state my core values: joy, peace, love, health, success, prosperity, and service.
Mhm.
So I would state my life philosophy, my core values, my mission statement, and my gratitude statement every morning.
Mhm.
And then I had them everywhere in the first year they were taped on my refrigerator, in the bathroom, everywhere.
You saw them
So I
everywhere.
was
You
I
put
saw
them
them
everywhere,
everywhere.
right?
So I would say them in the morning. When I got to my office, I had them in my planner. I would open my planner. I would say them again. During lunchtime, I would read them and say them again. When I came home, I would say them again. Before I went to bed, I would say them again. Now, let me explain something. To form a physical habit, it takes 21 to 31 days.
Mhm.
So if I've never worked out and I want to start working out and my body's not used to it, I have to do it consistently for 21 to 31 days before it becomes a physical habit.
Mm-hmm.
But to influence the subconscious mind, right now, you and I are communicating utilizing the conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the real Bob, your real computer program is your subconscious.
90% of it, they say. 90% of our, right?
Exactly. The subconscious holds everything you've heard, everything you've read, everything you've lived, everything you believe. That is the real us.
Right.
It's your subconscious. In order to influence the subconscious, it requires a consistent 120 to 190 days. So we switch phones every couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
We update the apps in our phones and in our computers every couple of months, if not weeks. But when was the last time we updated our computer program?
Right.
You know,
and that's personal development, right? That's people wanting to get better, learn, read, absorb information like you were doing. They don't do it. You know, the average CEO reads 60 books a year. Okay. The average person reads one chapter of a book a year. So, you know, you're talking about just reading and absorbing information. People are doing it all wrong.
Bob, you said it just right, man. And it's a, you know, and it's especially for us Latinos, you know, that is not thing, you know, those things are not taught to us. Those things are not celebrated in the Hispanic community. But you are absolutely right. You have to wake up early. You have to calm the mind. You have to state your affirmations. After I stated my affirmations, I will stand up. I have a vision board with everything that I just told you written. So after I state it, I would read it again. Then I would sit down with my cup of coffee and I would read for at least 15 minutes every day. And I do not read horror, fiction, love novels, and nothing wrong with that. But for me, because keep in mind, I was coming from rock bottom, clinically depressed, all I was reading with self-help, personal development books, positivity. And then after I read, I would work out. And I would not listen to music. I would put on some motivational material on YouTube. So in the morning, you know, I would spend, 2 to 3 hours just feeding myself. I would meditate, state my affirmations. I would read my affirmations. I would read, and then I would listen to motivational, an audio book or some motivational speaker as I worked out. So by the time 7:30 came, Bob, I felt like Superman. So I pumped myself up, and like you said, I'm currently reading, this book, and every morning, at a minimum 15 minutes. And I have a rule which is called the 15-minute rule, which means you should be able to work on your mind, body, and spirit, or you should be able to work on all life areas at a minimum for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
if you don't,
you can carve that out.
You can carve that out. You can carve that out. In 15 minutes, you can sit down, breathe, relax, tell yourself affirmations. In 15 minutes, you can read a couple of pages. If you don't have time, you can get a decent workout in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. You come home, spend 15 minutes with quality time with your kids or with your significant other. And, 15 minutes, you can, enjoy some leisure time. You're not doing all that great financially. Spend 15 minutes doing research on financial issues. Mm-hmm. You can improve your life in 15-minute increments. If you don't have 15 minutes, you don't have a life. That means that life is running you. You are not running your life.
Right.
So yeah, I finally healed myself. And then once I healed myself, I started sharing some of these tips and concepts with friends and families and other folks. And Bob, I remember I would have parties in my house. I would have social events at my house, usually co-workers and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time we were having a get together at my house, and Bob, I left my blueprint on my refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my Lord!"
They're gonna see it.
They're gonna know that, they're gonna think I'm corny. How embarrassing! Wow. And ironically, and being law enforcement and guys, and
Mm-hmm.
and even some of the ladies, they laughed and chuckled. Ironically enough, the next day or 2 days later, several of those folks like, "Hey man, what did you have on your refrigerator? Hey man, can you give me a copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can you share some of these concepts?" And as I started sharing them with folks, I realized that not only did it help me out, it started helping other folks out. And that's when I established a new life purpose. My new life purpose, which brings us to the latest chapter in my life, is to serve and empower others. All I want to do now, I mean, I have a career and I have a normal life just like everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
but most, if not all of my free time is dedicated to serving and helping others. All I want to do is serve others, help others, empower their own mind, body, and spirit.
So
I want to help
what does
others.
that look like, Joe, when somebody works with you? Because you are a coach, right? You are a speaker, you're a coach.
Yep.
So
So,
people contact you. How does that look? Walk me through how
so
you
if what the
do that.
first thing I do is I put people through their self identity framework.
Okay.
And let me take a step back. First, I tell them, take an inventory of your life and cut out the negativity. That's the first step. And even taking a step back, the person has to decide they want to change, they want to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, for too many of us, it takes us hitting rock bottom
Mm-hmm.
before we make an honest effort to change and improve.
Right.
So the first step is that the person really wants to change, really wants to improve, and they're ready and prepared to try new things. So the first step, I tell them, cut out the negativity. If you're whining and complaining, stop. If you're watching too much TV, stop. If you're playing too much video games, stop.
Mm-hmm.
TV is not bad. Video games is not bad.
Right.
Whining, complaining from time to time is not bad. But if you're overdoing it, it could be bad.
When it becomes habitual.
When it becomes habitual. And let me share another things with you. Usually our thoughts are on repeat and they become habitual.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter whether they're good or bad. Unfortunately, most of our thoughts are negative.
Mm-hmm.
Regretting, anxiety, negative talk. Oh, I'm not good enough. I remember what my mom told me, what my dad told me. I remember this situation. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good looking enough. I don't sound right. And we're constantly thinking these
you may
things.
not even remember where those thoughts are coming from, especially from when you're a kid and you become fearful of things. It's because you were told, don't talk to strangers. You're going to get sick. Close the window. And all that sinks in. And then you become an
Yes,
adult and you're like, I wonder why I think the way I think. It's because
exactly.
it's drilled into
And
your whole life.
yes, and the subconscious mind is so powerful, Bob. And the thing about the subconscious, not only is it powerful, but it doesn't see right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It would do what you tell it.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious mind is, the way it works is your wish is my command.
Right.
If you're constantly thinking something, constantly thinking, it'll give you that. So it's like you said, some of these things that hold us back, we've had them since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
We went through a bad experiences and we're still holding that. We went through a bad relationship and we're still holding that. A bad time in our life and we're still holding that. Mm-hmm. We had an argument, a fight with a coworker, or I don't like this person and I'm still holding to that. And in essence, we're only doing our self-damage.
So what do you tell people how do you teach them to let that stuff go? Because that's a big part of it, right?
Well, first of all, I tell them the damage that it causes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unfortunately, without getting into too much, even in my workplace, I see people who are just, they walk around like, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're still holding grudges and negativity from a decade ago, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff.
We all know people like that.
Yes, that stuff will kill you. That stuff causes high blood pressure, hypertension, sleep disorder. It feeds cancer. This stuff will literally kill you. Stress is the silent killer. The human body is so powerful, so amazing, but you have to teach it right. You have to treat it right. You can't just abuse and abuse and abuse it. So what I tell them is, look, man, you got to change your way. If not, you're going to pretty much die early. You won't be able to see your kids grow, your grandkids. You won't be able to enjoy life to the fullest. Let that nonsense go. Release, forgive, accept, let go, surrender. Be ready to really enjoy life. So the first thing I do, cut the negativity. I cut the TV. I stop watching news. I stop gossiping and talking bad. I stopped talking about myself. Myself, I was always worried and just a lot of nonsense and negativity in my mind. So every time I caught myself thinking negative, I will state my core values: joy, peace, love, health, success, prosperity, and service. And anything that not contribute to my core values, I made an effort to cut it. Things that contributed to my core values, I try to put more of that into my life.
So on the negative stuff, did you have to end certain relationships?
I didn't want to say it, Bob.
Even if it's family sometimes, right?
I didn't want to say it, Bob, but you're taking me there. You're taking me there, Bob. But yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, you have to cut all negativity. And sadly, this includes people too. If you become an average of the top 5 people you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with negative folks,
and that's true.
That is absolutely true. Yes. That is absolutely true. So if you're constantly hanging out with people who are constantly whining, complaining, and all they want to do is hang out, play video games, let's go drink, let's go smoke. And keep in mind, leisure is one of the life elements. Leisure is one of the life areas. You have to enjoy yourself, but you have to have the others as well. And it has to be from a positive perspective. So yes, if you have negative people, even if they're family, and I'm gonna tell you right now, for many Latinos, especially here in El Paso, sometimes that's difficult because we're very close knitted, families first, and it doesn't mean that you stop loving them. Right. Hey, cousin, I love you, but I'm gonna minimize the time that I spend with you. Right. Hey, Uncle such and such. Hey, Tia such and such. I love you. I'm here for you. If you need something, please let me know. But and you don't even have to tell them.
No,
you have to make a conscious.
It's just loving people from afar.
Loving people from afar, and sometimes you have to do that with coworkers too. When I go to my office, man, hey, good morning to everybody. What's up, man? What's up, brother? How you doing? Yeah, man. What's going on? But I limit some folks, and not because they're bad people. And sometimes
they don't fit into your framework. They don't fit
into my framework. Right. And it doesn't matter how much you want to help people. You cannot change nobody. No. They must be willing to change. No. So I'm here for people. I'll back you up. I'll encourage you. I'm here if you want to talk. But I am not going to condone a 10-minute conversation of negativity. If we have 10 minutes to discuss a problem, let's spend 2 minutes talking about the problems, and the remaining 8 minutes, let's talk about solutions, possibilities. So it has to be a positive way of thinking. And please do not think that I'm kind of a kumbaya type person. No, I'm a realist. But the reality is that if I feed my mind, body, and spirit positivity and good stuff, I'm going to live a good life. On the flip side, if I feed my mind and my subconscious and my body and spirit negativity, whining, complaining, victim mindset, I'm going to become a victim. So you have to decide, we all have to decide what type of life we want to live.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. You have to cut off negativity. Some things we do it gradually, other things we go cold turkey. That is up to you.
And a
Then,
way I like to put it is you just have to be responsible, take responsibility for everything that happens in your life, whether it goes good or whether it goes bad, right?
that
You have to take
absolutely.
responsibility for it, because a lot of people blame, I'm in this situation because of this relationship. I'm in this way because of the way I was raised. This is, and they can't get out of that situation because their subconscious has taken over and they've bought into it, right?
Bob, you're right. I don't know if you read my book or what's going on, Bob.
I haven't read your book, but talk about it. What's the name of the book?
Well, I'm gonna talk about it here in a little while, but
Okay.
the crazy thing is that it's amazing how we're on the same shit of music, because this is like math. This is like science. 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't matter where you are in life. Ironically enough, the things you're talking about and the things I'm talking about is just like math. So let me give you the scientific approach. What happens is, when you're constantly feeding negativity to your conscious mind, that is a bad thing. That is bad. But when this negativity seeps into your subconscious, man, I'm just watching. I'm seeing Aaron's.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your service. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, like I was saying, Bob, when you feed your mind, your conscious mind, negativity, that's a bad day. But when you're constantly doing it, and that negativity seeps into your subconscious, it will devastate and totally destroy your life. And it does that because it creates the victim mindset. And the victim mindset does three things. All it does three things. Number one, it complains. It complains about everything. Like you said, oh man, this, that, the other, and this and that. Number two, it blames. So it never takes responsibility. It's always blaming. This is it's their fault, it's her fault, it's his fault. And the third thing, it justifies. It justifies your existence. Oh, I'm like this because, I grew up like this. I'm like this because that's just the way I am. So that's why that negativity, the gossiping, the whining, complaining, talking bad about people, putting that bad energy out there, it's not good. It's no good. It'll impact your conscious mind, but once it seeps into your subconscious, it will destroy your life. It creates the negative mindset. It creates negativity.
When people do that, when people are talking negative about other people, it's just really they're just holding a mirror up to themselves, wouldn't you say?
That's exactly right.
They're really talking to themselves, but they're taking it out on other people. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, there's people around us like that.
Yeah, or they're refusing to look in the mirror. So it's easier for me to criticize you and blame you and talk about you and gossip about you than for me to look at myself and say, wow, I need to improve.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So that constant negativity with time, it creates the victim mindset. The victim mindset does three things: blames, complains, justify. If you do not correct the victim mindset, you go into emptiness. Emptiness is a state of life where nothing in life fills you, nothing satisfies you, nothing makes you happy. And unfortunately, for many, that emptiness leads people to depression. And for way too many, it causes people to commit suicide.
Right.
So the first thing to get out of that depression, get out of that empty lifestyle, that empty life, is to become self-aware and to change or make an effort to change into a positive mindset. So like you said, I must become aware when these negative thoughts are coming into my mind and make an effort to stop it. I must become aware when people are coming to me to blame, to complain, to gossip about others, and I have to make a conscious effort to stop it. I have to be aware of what are the negative things that I have in my life, in my house, in my mind that are killing me slowly, and I had to stop it and cut it off. So to answer your previous question, I start people with their self-identity framework. I have them answer who they are, who am I, what do I believe, where am I currently in life, what do I want in life, what do I need, how can I serve and help others, and what do I need to do? I start them with those 7 questions, and I'm going to repeat them. Who am I? What do I believe in? Where am I currently in life? What do I need in life? What do I want in life? How can I serve and help others? And what do I need to do? Based on those questions, and it may take some time, initially when I would answer those questions, I would answer them thinking, I'm going to answer the right way. That way, if somebody reads this, they'll be impressed. Does that make sense, Bob? Like
Yes.
if I wasn't being honest with myself. So it took me a long time to really answer those questions and be honest with myself.
I think that's the hardest part. I think that's the hardest part is being honest with yourself, right?
Man, that's tough, brother.
And I think that if you have a close friends or family, and you have a conversation with them and you ask them to really tell you, right? If you ask them, right, you have that come to Jesus talk. They will tell you, but
they'll tell you in a heartbeat.
But you got to tell them you're not going to get upset. But
right.
Tell me, where am I missing? Am I missing something here? What am I doing? Am I negative? And they'll tell you.
Correct. And you have to be big enough, strong enough to accept that, to face it. And regardless of how bad they tell you are, the beautiful thing is that we can always learn, grow, and develop. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what you've been through, your life experiences. You can always learn, grow, and develop. So that's the beautiful thing. So I start them with those 7 questions. From those 7 questions, I then lead them into developing their personal blueprint. And that personal blueprint starts with creating your life philosophy, your core values, your purpose statement, and a gratitude statement. Those 4 things. Those 4 statements or those 4 items become your new blueprint. They become your new identity, your new direction. And they also become your new affirmations. So everything that you're going to start doing should be in line with your blueprint. Anything that contradicts with your blueprint, you should make an effort to cut off. Once we have that, so now in essence, you've created your life on paper. Now, we take it from paper to actuality. We build a foundation. The foundation consists of sleep, focus, water, diet, exercise, things to avoid, consistency, and lifestyle. Those are the 8 elements of your foundation. Sleep. Way too many of us are not getting enough sleep or quality sleep.
Right. And there could be a plethora of reasons for that, right? There's a lot of reasons why.
That is correct. That is correct. So whether you're suffering from anxiety, depression,
hormones,
correct. So this is why, that is why it has to be a holistic approach. Because I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. For years, I slept with a CPAP machine, which for those who don't know what a CPAP machine, it's a machine that ejects air into your airway to ensure you breathe. I would go, up to 7 seconds without breathing throughout the night. I had a sleep study and I had, pretty bad sleep apnea.
And you
And once
got off of that?
I got off of the sleep,
Wow.
sleep apnea, hypertension, pre-diabetic, anxiety, and clinical depression.
And you were at the top of your career and your goals.
I had arrived, Bob.
Right.
I had arrived, and the crazy thing is, I had arrived at my ultimate goal, and now I couldn't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I had arrived at my ultimate goal, and my relationships were trash. My mind was trash. My body was trash. I was struggling. I was faking a smile.
Yeah, I was having a conversation about, who Anthony Bourdain is, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
yeah.
He committed suicide, right? And I don't know, we were talking about how he had everything. He traveled the world, he had money, he ate at the best places, he got to meet famous people,
yes.
and the guy was miserable, right? And you're like, how? Why?
People would die to live just a year of his life, and he did it for decades. So, Bob, that is evidence that money in of itself will not make you fulfilled and happy.
Yeah.
Fame, being powerful, famous, and rich, being a millionaire will not make you happy and fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that can guarantee you true success, happiness, and fulfillment is having direction and balance. When you have direction and balance, you are happy, successful, fulfilled on your own. Anything else is gravy.
Right.
You are not depending on other people and other things to make you fulfilled and satisfied, because you have balance and direction.
I have another question for you coming in here, Joel.
Yes.
Say hi, Joel.
Joel.
From Cindy. Any recommendations about forgiveness and learning how to let things go?
So, I don't have any specific techniques for that. I just learned that I had to let go. So going back to one of our earlier topics, I believe in a higher power, and I believe in the 12 universal laws. And one of the universal laws, the law of oneness, states that there was one supreme power, where you call that God, Jesus Christ, the universe, Allah, whatever you call it, there is one supreme power. We all come out of that. Everything is created out of that, which means we are all connected one way or another. So whatever I do to you, I do to myself. So if you did me wrong and I'm upset with you, or in my mind, based on my ego, I thought you disrespected me, or you belittled me, or you treated me wrong, I'm upset with you. I'm mad with you. I'm not forgiving you. I'm only hurting myself, Bob. You may have forgotten about that, but I'm carrying this anger, this regret, this ill feelings. I'm only doing damage to myself. Medical doctors have proven that ill feelings causes stress, which produce cortisol, which ravage your body after time. So any negative feelings, you're only doing damage to yourself. And that's why your affirmations are so important. So check it out, Bob. If you and I get into an argument, you and I get into a fight, I may be upset with you. In the morning, when I do my morning routine, what I call my focus session, one of the first things that I'm going to do is say my affirmations. Mm-hmm. And part of the affirmations is accept, forgive, let go, and surrender. And it's almost like I'm reminding myself, oh, wow, that argument I had with Bob, that fight that I had with Bob, you know what? I have to forgive him. I have to let it go. I have to surrender. I have to be happy.
Right.
So affirmations are so important because it's almost like a reminder. I read somewhere that usually we don't have to be taught things. More often, we have to be reminded.
Mm-hmm.
So we live in the information age. We know this stuff is right. We know we should be doing this,
Right.
but we need to create a system that reminds us on a daily basis. So going back to the foundation: sleep, focus, water, diet, exercise, avoid, consistency, and lifestyle. So sleep, and like you said, sleep disturbances can be caused by one of several things. Number two is focus.
Mm-hmm.
By focus, I'm talking about a focus session. You have to allow yourself, you have to give yourself at a minimum 15 minutes to an hour every day where you can focus your mind, body, and spirit. Every day you have to give you time. This is me time. So I wake up. My goal is I try to get 6 hours of sleep. I go between 5 and 7. I've tested myself, and I know that I'm good with 6.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll get a little bit more, but for a long time I would operate with 4 hours of sleep,
Not
and
enough.
that devastated my body.
Right.
4 or 5 hours of sleep devastated my body. For me, if I usually wake up early, I use a Fitbit. If I notice that I've gotten less than 5 hours of sleep, I go back to sleep. Sleep is extremely important, which means I
I
have to
can't
make sure.
live without my Fitbit.
Was that?
I
That's
can't
right.
live
Yes.
without my Fitbit, man.
Yes. I mean, in today's world with this technology, there's no excuse.
No.
So, I make an effort to go to sleep early, sleep. The first thing I do in the morning is I conduct my focus session. My focus session involves 15 minutes of meditation. Well, I breathe first to calm my mind and body. I meditate for 15 minutes. Then I state my affirmations, which are my life philosophy, core values, my mission statement, and my gratitude statement. After that, I reread, or I physically read my affirmation because I want to infuse my subconscious, and then I will pick up a book and read for at least 15 minutes.
Even though you know it by memory by this point, you're still reading it, right?
You have to. You have to. At a minimum, I will state them. You have to give yourself every day at least 15 minutes to center your mind, body, and spirit, to bring you back to you where you know you have to be. Because, Bob, there's too many things in this world that drag you to negativity.
Mm-hmm. It's everything.
There's, every day is filled with negativity, with problems, with challenges, with struggles. Everybody suffers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to create something in your life that brings good, that reminds you, I am strong, I am good looking, I am powerful, I am joyful, I am peaceful, I am loving, I am healthy, I am prosperous, I serve others. You have to tell yourself. That's how you program or reprogram both the conscious and subconscious mind. So sleep, focus, water. You have to get enough water on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And, some of us there's people that don't drink water. We'll drink coffee, Coke, sodas, tea. You have to drink water.
Right.
Sleep, focus, water, diet. And when I mean diet, I'm not referring to cutting your calories. What I'm trying to say is try to increase your vegetables and try to decrease your processed foods.
Right.
Like everybody, I eat junk food from time to time, but I make an honest effort to try to get more good quality vegetables, good meats, good foods in my body, and I try to minimize processed foods.
Yeah, for me, it's sugar and simple carbs.
That is correct.
That helped me a lot.
And Bob, those are the two things that are killing Americans today.
Mm-hmm.
We eat way too much sugar. This is why I was pre-diabetic. Mm-hmm. And we eat way too much refined carbohydrates.
Yeah.
If one of the best book I read on that is The Power of the Metabolism. If you can read that book, they have it both in English and in Spanish. The Power of Your Metabolism. It's an awesome book, and it explains in basic concept, some things you can understand, how sugar and simple carbohydrates are are destroying human bodies.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of these issues, a lot of these ailments, a lot of these diseases that we're constantly struggling with here in the United States, you don't see them in other nations. You don't see them in other countries because they don't consume as much sugar and they don't consume as much refined carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So like you say, try to reduce your sugar, try to reduce your simple refined carbohydrates like flour, you know, refined sugar, you know,
Yeah, the
that white
bread,
sugar,
the breads,
the
the cupcakes,
breads.
the
Oh,
cookies,
yes,
the tortillas,
correct,
all that stuff.
correct.
Yeah.
So once I started cutting that down, I started upping my vegetables. I'm not a big fan of vegetables, but what I do is I'll make salad, like a big salad. I'll divide it in 2 cup containers, and then I'll mix that with berries, with fruits. Now you got to be careful with some fruit because some fruits are high in
Sugar.
glucose, high in sugar. So if you go with berries, you can never go wrong. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries.
Right.
So I'll take a little salad, put in some berries, shake it up in my NutriBullet, and I try to have one of those at least every day. And then I take I usually either meal prep or I order my meals. And an excellent meal service here in El Paso, Holistic Meals. If you want to change your life, if you want to have a healthy diet on a daily basis, healthy meals right here in El Paso, Texas, check out Holistic Meals. So mind, body, spirit. So my foundation, sleep, focus, water, diet, exercise. You have to move the human body.
Yeah.
Whether you lift weights, walk, yoga, do something. You have to do something at least 3 to 5 days a week.
Right.
You know, I like lifting weights. I like running. I'm getting older now, so you know, years of military and federal law enforcement service, my body, you know, I'm pretty banged up, but I still make an effort to make some kind of movement at least for 15 minutes every day. So sleep, focus, water, diet, exercise, avoid. We all know we all have vices. Like you said, for some of us, it could be sugar, it could be coffee, it could be, like you said, bread, cookies, pizza, refined carbohydrates, whining, complaining, the news, video games. We all have things in our lives that we know are detrimental to us. We need to be aware. We need to identify those things, and then we need to make an honest effort to try to minimize those things. I'm not talking about cut them out, but if you're using them or spending so much time in that activity that is being detrimental to your life, you have to do something.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
I love wine, Bob. I like drinking red wine. But I've noticed that if I had a box of wine, a bottle of wine, 3 bottles of wine, I would go through them like that. And before that, I loved vodka. And before that, I loved margaritas. So if I bought a margarita mix, man, it would go in a weekend. If I bought a bottle of vodka, so I stopped. Do I drink alcohol? Yes, but I don't keep alcohol in my house. Do I love sweets? I love Snickers bar, but I don't buy a pack of Snickers bar and keep it in my house.
Right.
I don't buy things that are detrimental to me and keep it in my house. Would I have it from time to time? Yes, but I try to cut negativity and don't have it readily available in my house. So sleep, focus, water, diet, avoid, consistency, and lifestyle, which means those things we just talked about, we have to establish a way of life, or rather we have to create consistent with those things. So it's not that I'm going to start eating good for a couple of days, for 30 days, for 2 months. No, it has to be a consistent way of life. That is why nothing extreme works.
Right. You've got to change your lifestyle. You have to change your lifestyle.
Extreme diets do not work. And I've tried them all, Bob. I've tried them all.
Mhm.
Extreme diets do not work. Extreme workout programs do not work. Nothing extreme works. If you want real, everlasting change, it has to be something you can do on a consistent basis,
Mhm.
at a minimum 5 days out of the week. And you
Right.
do it for so long that it becomes a lifestyle.
Right.
So it's not I'm cutting out sugar, it's I no longer eat that much sugar.
Right.
It's no longer I'm gonna cut out breads for 30 days or for what have you. It's I don't
I
eat
don't eat
bread
white
Monday.
bread anymore.
Exactly. It has to be you. You have to
Right.
identify yourself with that.
So
So
let's talk a little bit about your book, because we're going a little bit, we're 90 minutes, and I want to make sure that people hear about your book. So let's talk a
absolutely.
little bit about
So what I've done is I took everything that I've learned through all my life experiences, my mistakes, my many failures, through 3 years of research and conducting experiments on myself,
it. Mhm.
everything that I use to change my life, the same advice that I've given to other people that has changed their life, I put it all in a book, and it's called The Optimistic Seeker's Keys to Greatness. It is on Amazon. It's pretty much on in Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. Yep. It is Optimistic Seekers Keys to Greatness. Absolutely. And this walks you, in fact, the last portion of the book actually has a workbook. So it walks you through this process. So I talk about my life story, I talk about my struggles, my journey, and then I go into a step-by-step process that'll take somebody suffering from depression, going through a life crisis, or anyone who wants to create a better version of yourself. I take them through a step-by-step process. You know what, Bob? I've read many books. I listened to many great speakers. I'm inspired, I'm motivated, but then I'm left answering questions. Okay, how do I take that inspiration and apply it to my life? And that is exactly what this book does. It cuts all the bull crap and it takes you from knowledge to practical application. It
Mhm.
takes you from inspiration to knowledge and from knowledge to practical application. It tells you how do you start to improve your life starting tomorrow, starting Monday. So that is my first book. My second book is coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called The Keys to Greatness Self-Empowering Workbook. So what it does, it takes this pretty thick book and it cuts all the fat and it gives you all the information you need and nothing else you need.
Okay.
So I don't really go into my life story and a lot of this. I put a lot of medical and scientific explanation of why we go through the things we go through
Mhm.
and why we experience the things we do. So here I give you the facts and then I start you with the focus process. I call it a focus process. Feel, observe, conscious in order to improve yourself. So there it is, Bob.
That's awesome.
Please support. Please support the book. If anybody wants to hear anything else, I go by The Optimistic Seeker, Joe Rodriguez, The Optimistic Seeker. And I came up with that concept when I started this new life purpose. So I'm not trying to become rich doing this. I'm not trying to become famous. I honestly want to help people.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because when I was going through my struggles, when I was going through some of my darkest hours, I really didn't know where to go to. And I know that a lot of people are suffering and they're either too afraid to ask, they're ashamed to tell their story, or they don't know where to find help.
Mhm.
And on many occasions, even the medical field fails us. You
Well,
know,
they
the medical
dismiss
field,
you. They
they
dismiss
just
everybody. You go in to
they
see a
dismiss
doctor.
you.
Yeah, I mean, I read a statistic, Joel. It said that the general practitioner will diagnose you within 19 seconds after talking to you, and a specialist will diagnose you in 30 seconds. So these guys just
Exactly.
don't have time. They don't have time. They're just going to write you a prescription,
Correct.
get you
And
in
keep in
and out.
mind, Bob, we go to a medical office, we wait for 30 minutes. The
Mhm.
nurse brings us in, weights us, takes out blood pressure. Let me see your nose, your ears. Doctor comes in, like you said, 5 to 20 seconds, leaves. They give you a prescription, and that's it.
That's it.
So I think the medical field has failed us, and because of that, I believe that sharing this information is so important. You know, we are bombarded with negativity every day, all day.
Mhm.
We are bombarded with negativity on social media, in our workplace, and unfortunately for many of us at home. We need to come together and we need to collectively try to bring something good every day to ourselves, to our lives, and to the life of others.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is at the workplace. We spend sometimes, most of us, many of us spend more time at work than we do at home.
Yeah.
And then we come home and we're carrying that negativity with us.
Mhm.
So I wrote this book to share that message with the world. So keep in mind, I'm originally from New York City, but El Paso is home now.
How long have you been here?
Um, I got here in 2009. So I came to El Paso because of my career, but I fell in love with El Paso. So El Paso is home now.
It's
And
awesome.
just recently, uh, several businesses, several medical professionals who are into functional medicine, and several folks who are into that holistic wellness. We just created the Wellness Coalition, the first of its kind, I believe, in the nation. The Wellness Coalition, created here first in El Paso, Texas, and it is a group of professionals who are like minded. And we had our first meeting 2 weeks ago, and our goal is to bring this holistic wellness message to El Paso and to the surrounding area. Um,
Well, I
and
I could definitely help spread that word for you guys.
absolutely, absolutely. So we'll talk offline.
Yeah.
So our goal is to have our first holistic wellness expo in January of this coming year. In January 2020, we want to give the general public, we want to concentrate on first responders, the general public, today's youth. We want to bring them good quality information and good quality, um, um, not expensive service that they can utilize to improve their entire life.
It's
We want
awesome.
to take this mind, body, and spirit approach and spread that message to the local area and give them services, affordable services that they can actually use that can help improve their lives and the lives of their family.
That's a
So,
great idea. Great idea, Joel.
absolutely, this is a beautiful young lady by the name of Cynthia, owner and creator of Holistic Meals. Her and we've partnered up to create this coalition. Dr. Aguilera is coming on board. Many other companies and other folks in the local area are coming on board. So we're bringing that to El Paso very soon. And hopefully, with your help, Bob, we'll be able to spread that message.
For sure. And you know what's weird is, Joel, I interview people from all over the world. We were connections on LinkedIn, and I had no idea that you lived in El Paso, and vice versa. I don't think you
That
knew
is
I lived
correct.
here either. And we're on the same city. And this is a first for me where, a connection is made online strictly, and we're in the same city. So I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that is correct. I think, there's a lot of nonsense and garbage on social media and the internet, but there's also a lot of good. And if
Yeah.
and if we put our minds to it, social media and the internet can be used to do wonderful things. And I think this is evidence of it. Like you said, we're both like-minded. You know, we've only known each other for a very short while. We had a very short conversation prior to the show. It's obvious we're on the same shit of music, and we were able to connect and put this together fairly quickly because of a social media app, specifically LinkedIn. Yeah. So you're right.
Very
Absolutely.
cool. Well, I'm going to put, make sure you shoot me your information on your website, the book, the link. We'll put that in show notes, and it'll appear on the Q&A media page. So you guys be on the lookout for that. The show will definitely go into replay, and it's going to live on the media page forever. So
awesome.
We're going to push this out. I really appreciate you coming on. Any last words, or how somebody can get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, first, Bob, I want to say thank you so very much. And I don't want to get emotional here, but thank you so very much. I think what you're doing is awesome, is great. Not enough people are doing this, and I truly appreciate your efforts. So I want to thank you. I want to say thank you, and hopefully we can become good friends after this. So that's the first thing. If anybody wants to reach me, please check out optimisticseeker.com. That's optimisticseeker.com. And from there, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, The Optimistic Seeker. I'm on Twitter, Joe Rodriguez OS, Instagram, Joe Rodriguez OS, and Facebook, Joe Rodriguez, The Optimistic Seeker. The book is called Keys to Greatness. Get a copy today. My second book comes out in a couple of weeks. And I'm also working on a planner for 2020, which it incorporates all of these concepts, and it gives the person a planner where they can actually track that day-to-day activity as they start to improve their mind, body, and spirit. So first, thank you very much. And please support this effort, not necessarily for me, but I think El Paso needs it. The United States needs it. We need to become more positive. We need to become optimistic seekers.
Absolutely. Joe, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining me here on the Q&A show. You guys, until next time, please take care of one another, and you'll see us again soon. And if you got to this point, hashtag live so we know that you saw the show. Thanks again, Joe. We'll talk soon. You guys have a great night. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.